Is Death Battle card game actually a thing?
I don't know.
I mean, you
I
said
would
that,
assume
and
not.
you said it with such confidence.
Well, yeah, well, that's kind of how the series are treated, or the card games in that first season are treated. I assume they're all deadly, as opposed to just like, oh no, the spirit buzzsaw is gonna send you the shadow realm.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Yep. Yep.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yep.
I mean, it's an intensely popular series. I'm not surprised they made a card game out of it. That's kind of
It was an intensely popular series.
at this point.
Oh boy. So, I'm assuming if you pull Superman, then you win.
You mean Goku?
No, I mean Superman.
Wait, who won that fight? Was it
Superman.
Superman? Okay, then yes. Yeah, you just win. You just win that round.
Yeah.
It's like pulling the anti-Joker, apparently.
Yeah. Like the whole thing that was basically Superman wins because the author said so, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, they they put it in more flowery terms of like intent for the characters, but they are talking intent for the characters rather than actual character capabilities. Like, if memory serves, it was Goku's whole thing is pushing past and breaking his limits, whereas Superman's is having no limits and being able to meet any challenge just by default.
Essentially, yes. I believe the mechanics of the fight was just it doesn't matter how strong Goku is because Superman is under a yellow sun. So he just has unlimited power. So it doesn't matter what form Goku takes.
Which is an uninteresting way to take it. Like, that's the same as. Yeah, I think I mentioned it recently. I forget when, but I think I mentioned it on recording recently. Where it's like the Doylist interpretation for how and why characters do things they do is interesting in an academic sense, but it's not interesting in a story sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's yeah.
Kind of related. I was having are you guys familiar with Choose Your Own Adventure, CYOA
Yeah.
style stuff?
Do
I
you
was
mean like as a method for story creation, or do you mean like as the story of like turn to page blah 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 to if you want to do this
oh
and stuff like that?
not that one where you choose like a power set essentially off of a random
Yeah,
number generator kind of thing.
the story creation
That
method. Yeah, I've written a
yeah,
couple
that
of
one.
those. I've written three of those.
Talking to a friend of mine about doing that in Shield Hero, doing this gem one where you could enchant items with gems. And I read a story that was like that he actually had worked on, and it's like thematically that's very interesting. The main character really works to nuance their equipment and maximize all the numbers and stuff, but in actual reality, that's just pages and pages and pages of tiny little number crunching that the character does, and it's just boring. It's boring to read, and there's no
Yeah,
pacing for it because it's just so grindy. It's like you can do that in real life in a video game by just grinding out a level for a couple hours while listening to a podcast or something. But like, no one would want to read that novelized.
yeah. That is a the gamer story plague. Like on that kind of story, it is fucking hell. Just endless number wankery, which some people are really into until they realize that it doesn't actually make a story out of it.
The
At which
number
point, even the number crunchers aren't interested anymore.
numbers alone
Not
don't make a story. Like if I'm reading something and oh, this character's stats go up by this amount, cool. What does that mean?
Yeah, not many stories get past the number crunching part and have them actually use those numbers to do anything. So it can get really frustrating.
Yeah, that's like CYWAs are useful for being a jumping off point for a story, but that's the thing. They're a jumping off point. You make a build, and then that is the protagonist of the story, and then they go ahead from there. Like incorporating the CYOA ongoing in the story is generally a mistake. Like that's less interesting as stories tend to go. There are ways you can make it interesting by maybe embellishing some of the mechanics as story concepts rather than just raw mechanics. But you know, I
Yeah,
feel like
there's
that was
there's
I'm sorry.
there's certain builds that are better for story writing, and there's certain builds that are better for behind the scenes wankery that you just can't show, or rather not go into on the reader's end of things.
Something interesting is I get to read a lot of like lit RPG style stuff where you know they have the stats and everything.
Yeah.
That's been published because I have like the freaking Kindle Unlimited reading subscription, so I can just read as many books as I want that are on that program. And there's a lot of just lit RPG stuff on that program. And the good stories that I really like, as time goes on, those mechanics matter less and less, and what matters more is the storytelling.
Yeah, like you can start doing like going into the number crunching and showing exactly what the protagonist is doing to get those numbers up, and you start out showing a bunch of that stuff because it's interesting as a concept, but it is only a concept. It is not a story in and of itself. So as the story becomes a story and it has characters and plot and events and a setting around the main character that they interact with, then the basic core concept of the RPG mechanics, whatever they may be, that's just a concept, and it will never really be more than that unless you want to get very, very meta. So that's a kind of thing that just sort of by necessity has to fade into the background because at some point nobody cares. Like it's interesting to look at on its own at the beginning, but once you actually have more interesting stuff to do in the story, then there's not really much point.
I think Ari Monster, I think that was what it was called, handled that. That's the one. I think it handled it both really well and absolutely terribly. Like the stat bonuses and the abilities that he gains from eating things, which is his unique ability, never goes away. So we get some panels that are just full of a list of abilities that he's suddenly gained, but like they don't ever mean anything. So they're there, and they can be called upon later, but they're just like a background element after a while. He never really goes into detail on any of them. So I think that's probably the best way to handle it. They're a creative tool the author can use, or artist, author, whatever, but the reader doesn't really have to actively think about them ever.
Yeah, it's like character is strong enough to do this and this. Okay, we got that. Character is not strong enough to do this. Got it. As long as we understand that, we don't need to know the exact numbers of everything.
Yeah.
The only issue with that system is your character can essentially, after a while, they can have every ability, and they can just pull them out of their ass because they have them. They just don't use them enough to really make them consciously aware of it, make the readers consciously aware of, oh, they have this ability or this move set.
Yeah. Like, what was it? Ideas Guy. He's a very good author. I very much recommend. I'm actually one of his patrons, to be honest with you. He's writing a story called Risk It All, which is basically one of these, lit RPG kind of stories, I guess you would call it. Like, it is a bit reductive to call it like a gamer story. Like, that's... I'm going to take that as a point well made, Zero. I'm just going to call them lit RPGs from now on. But
yeah, that's what the community is taking to calling themselves, like people who wrote stuff on Royal Road and then got that published and stuff like that.
Oh, man,
it's like a genre of its own now.
Royal Road is a weird website. Anyway, yeah, so he's running one of those, and like I say, it started really in depth with how the whole thing works, like how the whole system he uses works to get powers, which, again, it has a neat mechanic to it, and that it's based around chance and games of minor skill, which, it's novel, but it still has the same problem of it works as a concept, but it's not a story. So he shows it at the beginning, and then he stops showing it, because who fucking cares? But the same is true for stats. Like, he can get stat increases and make his parameters better, yada yada. And he can also get skills. And he pays a lot of attention to the skills, because that is a very concrete thing that, the character is now able to do a very specific thing that has very material impact on, how he can fight. It's a superhero story. It's a Young Justice. But the raw stats, almost immediately, they basically never get mentioned again. He becomes mildly superhuman, and then it's just not really brought up, other than at some point I need to improve my stats some. And it doesn't really give raw numbers, because, again, who gives a shit about I put 10 points in strength? It is now 60. What does that mean? I don't fucking know, but it's bigger. That's good.
Yeah, in the end, the only thing that matters is the binary, I can do this thing / I cannot do this thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if what you're writing does not have a material impact on the story, then there's no fucking point to it. Essentially is what this whole thing comes down to. This rambling, 10-minute conversation. Oh boy.
No, I think it's a valuable skill to have, to realize what is good to include in the front end of a product and what is good to have on the back end as a creator tool.
So this is a podcast. Hi everybody, how's it going? I forget how we got here. We started from Death Battle, the card game.
I think because the story I was actually thinking of, the main story that the friend of mine is writing, actually his character has that moveset, the games one. That's his powers. It's a How Not to Summon a Demon Lord story, I believe, where the main character is replaced by this guy's OC with the games master moveset. And so the card games kind of twigged me onto that. So I believe that was the conversation starting point.
Ah. Cool. It's warm again. I'm not a fan of it being warm again.
Yeah.
Had a good couple weeks there where it was just kind of nice, comfortable temperature, and we had a lot of rain. That was nice to hear on the window and stuff. It was cool.
I wish we had more rain. We're in kind of a severe drought here in my area, so which, considering I live in the middle of farm country, it's not great.
It's not ideal.
So
And turns out well water is real bad to water your crops with regularly. They can handle it. It's just not great.
Huh. All that groundwater.
How you doing, Slicer? Other than, drought.
Good. Physical therapy is going great. I recently got upgraded to 50% of body weight on my right leg. And that's the conservative number. I can walk. It's kind of an odd loping stumble, but like, it's fine. It's nice to be able to move around unassisted if I need to. And I had like a list of 5 exercises, so I had 3 of them eliminated, and then I gained 2 more. So that was nice. I haven't had much of a week. Honestly, I've only done 2 things that I can actually actively remember, and that's play The Last Remnant and Borderlands 3. And The Last Remnant is an infuriating game. It's just, I wish to kill someone because it's just so much wasted potential. The game has weapon proficiency. It has individual levels for all of your individual stats. It has a class system. Enemies level up in dynamic ways. And I think there's a couple other systems that the game doesn't tell you about. You cannot interact with anything I just said. For instance, I wanted to have a dual wielding build as my main character. I grabbed 2 katanas at the start of the game, and I just used those for a while. And after a while, I started learning how to do 2-handed dual wielding attacks, which is how the game works. The more you use something, the better you are at it. I gained a class that was like, I forget what it was. I think it was like Legendary Samurai or something like that. So it was a rare class that I had earned because I had enough katana proficiency and enough character level, but characters don't have levels, so it was a little confusing. And it was working great. And then I switched to a sword and shield because one of the quests involves making a sword and shield quest item and then using them. So I was really weak for that one battle, but hey, I have 18 other characters that I have in my army, so it was fine. At the end of that battle, I gained Novice Fencer as a class, and then it overwrote my Legendary Samurai class, and I can't get it to go back because you can't interact with the class system.
That sucks.
So it's a really good game, but the systems in place that you cannot interact with need to be manually changed. The fact that you can't interact with them is a huge detriment. In combat, so dual wielding is a massive amount of damage to a single target. Like most high-end dual wielding attacks just hit something 8 times in the span of about a second, doing several thousand damage per hit, which is really good. It's great for bosses. Not so good for, like, I don't know, I gotta fight 30 worms that all die in one hit. Not amazing. So, my second army, little unit thing, they're called unions, was a mage class. Eventually they unlocked hexes, which are area of effect attacks. And you keep in mind when you're in battle, you cannot control your positioning on the battlefield. You can kind of sort of do it by disengaging and attacking another enemy group to kind of move your group to a slightly different part of the map. But if the enemy happens to use a area of effect attack that hits everything around them, they can hit your other unions as well, not just the one that they're fighting. And for boss enemies who get a turn every time they're engaged, instead of just one turn and then you flank them with the second group you attack them with, you can die in one turn because the enemy gets 4 turns where they hit every single person around them. and everyone has individual health, even though it's collective.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh.
Oh, hey, you're back.
Hello?
My mic died there for a second. That was weird.
Talk about how everybody
So-
has 4 turns and getting one-shotted by this boss.
Right. So eventually my groups had 5 people each. I had 3 groups of 5 people. If the enemy hits with an attack that hits every person. Okay, let's start. If an enemy attacks you with their basic attack, they do, let's say, 300 damage. You have 2,500 collective health, so that's not too bad. The entire enemy team can attack you 5 times, and it hurts, but you're not too bad. If one enemy out of that group of 5 happens to do an attack that hits every one of your people for, let's say, 200, everyone is hit. That's 1,000 points of damage from one attack because you have 5 people in your group. Attacks that target the entire group are insanely overpowered. Even worse is when it targets everyone around them, like I said before. So everyone just dies. The only way to win at this game is to get those attacks as fast as you possibly can. The best way to play this game is to not grind, because enemies will get stronger disproportionately to you, because you can't manually raise your own stats. So you have to rush to a hex build and then just coast through the rest of the game. And then eventually there's a quest where you fight a room full of 30 bugs at the same time and just grind on that quest for hours and hours and hours to raise all of your individual stats to maximum. It's a fun game, but all of the potential and the systems don't work together.
And this was the game you picked up last week. The
Last Remnant.
Last Remnant,
I owned it
yeah.
on the original Xbox when it first came out, and this was the remaster.
Okay, because I remember, again, when I had played this game, I had a lot of similar frustrations with the systems, and that's why I stopped playing the game and couldn't finish it. I felt like I had to constantly grind, and when I did grind and get my units to a strong enough level, then the enemies would then get proportionally stronger and get access to moves that I hadn't even seen before in the game.
Yeah. No, they when you grind in the game, your battle ranking goes up, which at first I thought was my level. It's not. That's the enemy level in the world. So if you happen to grind a crazy amount and your battle ranking gets too high, the enemies could quickly outpace you, because you're not, unless you're individually grinding out for hours for the same characters, your stats just aren't high enough. So it's not great.
You say this is a fun game. I'm finding it hard to believe you.
It's a really good system. It's really fun to just maximize every party member. Like, oh, you're good at combat, you're good at mage stuff, so I stick you with the other mages, and then they all collectively get better at magic because they all use magic on their turns. So you can actually teach characters how to use skills if their other party members use them. It's a very dynamic system. It's just too dynamic, too background. So, yeah. Also, the main character is a piece of shit. I mean, just the most disrespectful little bratty asshole on the planet. He's so anime. It's really bad. The world is great, but it's kind of like which Final Fantasy had Vaughn? Was it 10? No, not 10. Was it 11? I know they remastered it to be Zodiac Age.
That was 12, I think.
Yeah. It was like that, but worse. Vaughn was kind of disrespectful, but eventually he learned how to stop being a street rat and just, learn how to respect people. Rush doesn't. He meets, the prince of the local city, and he's like Lord David, and he calls him Dave. He calls him Dave for the rest of the game.
Hey Dave,
I'm
what's
gonna
up,
call
Dave?
I'm going to call you Dave, buddy. Just walks up to the
let's
prince
be real.
surrounded by his bodyguards.
If
And
I
just-
met a guy that was like, "Hey, I'm David," I would also just call him Dave. Like, fuck off, dude.
I suppose that, but he's the prince surrounded by his bodyguards. You say that kind of thing in private when they're not around and they are not actively menacing you. So, yeah, because of the grinding difficulty, some quests are just straight up impossible. Like there's this mainline story quest where you go off with one of the prince's generals, and you go through this little dungeon. It's not too bad. It's actually pretty easy until you fight the boss, who again has multi-attacks, which can hit all of your characters, which are only 2 at that point. You can only have 2 characters, and they'll just one-shot you because they can hit too hard and you can't. So eventually I just gave up. The storyline boss fights are quickly impossible. I don't know. Maybe if I had access to like a cheat engine and I could just force my stats and class to be what I want them to be, it would be a playable game. But yeah, I actually don't know what the remaster did as far as content. From what I was researching when I was trying to refine my character, the computer version is what the remaster actually is. So it's got some unique item placements and enemies and things like that. I don't know if they updated the graphics at all. It doesn't seem like it, but they weren't bad to begin with, so it's not too bad. So that was my main takeaway from that game. Oddly enough, Borderlands 3 was actually a breath of fresh air. When I played the game when it first came out, I really didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, actually. I can chalk that up at this point to just the villains. Tyreen and Troy don't hold a candle to Handsome Jack in any way. They're not nearly as good. But Handsome Jack was also amazing. So, not a good person, granted. He's a horrible monster tyrant, but he is entertaining and he is charming. But what I've discovered recently while playing Borderlands 3 is it's actually a mechanically really sound game. Like, it works really well. There's a lot of really cool gameplay aspects to it. It's just the story that drags it down. And the second you finish the main story and you start all the DLCs, it's like, then it gets really fun. Because as with Borderlands 2, there is several DLC expansions that are quite long, actually. I was really disappointed where I started one for Ava, where like she wanted to make a podcast. So you go and investigate a crime that's happening, and she keeps trying to put a supernatural spin on it. And the whole thing took like 15 minutes. It wasn't a very long thing at all. So it was really, I was concerned that I had just spent $30 on 2 season passes for a bunch of content that I was going to blow through in a couple hours. But then I played the Krieg inside of Krieg's Mind DLC, and that's, I was playing that for like 12 hours. It was really good. And really well written, too. Like, I actively enjoyed the story. I was really invested. So that was nice. So it's really just the main villains that drag down Borderlands 3. The rest is a great game.
I mean,
it is a fun game.
things have been said about. I've actually forgot. Is it Ava, the new center of the universe for the series?
Yeah. Ava is Ava's a blight on the story. I don't care what they try to do to her in the future. She'll always be a terrible character.
Yeah. Oh, I doubt that anyone actually cares about the story of Borderlands anymore. Like, there was a brief moment when people kind of cared in 2, and since, not really.
It's just a vehicle to take you to the next awesome set piece and planet that you get to explore. Really, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
The one thing 3 does really well is it opens up the universe as a whole, and you get to explore other planets. It's not just Pandora.
Yeah.
And it turns out the whole galaxy is kind of fucked, but each in their own little ways, and you get to experience what, I don't know, growing up on a swamp planet is like. Spoiler, it's not great.
Smelly, I imagine.
Yeah, you get to meet swamp warlocks, which is the coolest fucking thing.
Swarlock.
Like, yeah, a Swarlock. They've broken the pact to serve the cult leaders, and you got to go kick her ass. It's amazing. All while being commented and narrated by the most charming Bayou Hick on the planet. It's amazing.
I might have to give that game another try at some point. I might do it.
I would fully recommend it if you get the DLCs and things like that. If you just shut your brain off when the campaign is happening, and then you can just zone back in for the side content and eventually the DLCs. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I will say, if you do play it though, the max level is now 72, which is such a weird fucking number, instead of 50.
Yeah.
So I would really suggest playing through the game and then getting as far as max level in true Vault Hunter mode, which just makes enemies parallel with you, so you don't outpace them, basically.
I know the deal. It's the same as 2.
Yeah. I would recommend doing that before you go into Mayhem mode, which is like the challenge mode, where enemies get a lot more health and stuff like that, but the loot chances go up. The numbers don't scale right if you're not max level before you start Mayhem mode. The difference between a level 56 gun and a 62 gun is about 40,000 damage.
It's a big number.
Yeah. I had a really, really good machine gun that did 400 corrosive damage per bullet, and it was a double minigun, and I was shredding through enemies. And by the time I finished my first playthrough, and I went into True Vault Hunter Mayhem 1 out of 10. You can go up to Mayhem 10. Well, technically 11, but 11 is not a thing. And it took me 800 bullets to kill one enemy.
That's also a big number.
Yeah, the numbers don't scale if you're not max level. But a full-on seal of approval for me. It's a really good game, mechanically, and everything but the main campaign. And since I've been playing those two things too much, that's all I've been doing.
Too much is relative.
I didn't really mean to say too much. I just meant exclusively.
Yeah.
Aside from the occasional D&D every Saturday and hospital visits.
I have been doing very little, aside from panicking about falling behind on all of my work every time that I try and think about doing my work.
That feels like something you've been suffering from for a while now.
Yeah, no kidding. Other than that, there's fucking... the Fate Go event is boring, and I hate it, and I've just been skipping the story because Hokusai sucks as a character. And
I completely disagree, but to each their own, I guess.
And
the power of subjectivity.
Yeah, Near Reincarnation is effectively no longer a game as far as gameplay goes for me. Like, it is just hit the button and watch the numbers go up, or don't watch the numbers go up and just let it do its thing for about half an hour.
Does it have an auto mode or something? Like, what do you mean? I'm not actually familiar with that game.
It has an
Beyond
auto
that,
mode.
its roll
it has
chances aren't
an
good.
auto mode. So
That's good.
I've gotten to the point where I have a team strong enough that can do almost anything. Like there is one section of like extra bonus super stuff that I could do, but is too high level for me. But aside from that, I can just set a team, not even really bother like optimizing anything, just hit auto and a weapon type and just set it to go, and it'll go for half an hour, and then when I come back I will have a bunch of resources that I can then use, and then set it to go again for another half hour. So that's how that game goes. I say that like that's different from like the game generally, but that is also just how the game goes generally, except instead of half an hour it's like a minute, and then you do that several times, and then eventually you get interesting story stuff for about 30 seconds, and you do it again like for like 4 1-minute fights, and then you get another bit of story stuff.
What is the story of that game anyway? Is it completely separate from the 2 existing Niers?
Yeah. Okay. The way it works is you are a little girl in what's called the cage. It is basically some kind of purgatory dream realm kind of thing.
Okay.
And you wander around with the help of a little ghost thing named Mama. And you're trying to get back your memories that you have lost, because it's JRPG adjacent, so it has to have amnesia. And the way you do that is by going up to these statue things that hold weapons that hold the memories of other people's lives, and they're all super depressing because it's near. And you go through the game collecting these other people's stories and eventually getting your memory back, and that's all I'm going to say for not spoiling things, because it is a Nier game and it does have a Nier appropriate twist.
That's fair. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, the individual stories are... I'll rephrase. They were interesting enough to carry things, but when you run out of those, it is a very dull game. There is not much game to that game.
Yeah. It's why I haven't really been playing it that much. It's just I don't feel like playing it because there's not much to play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like late game Genshin Impact, from what I've been told. Just nothing there.
Not really. Like Genshin Impact, you go in and do your dailies and stuff. It's still gameplay. Like you're still like playing the game. You can't play Genshin Impact on auto. There is no auto, and it wouldn't work if there was. But a game like this, it is so just focused on raw numbers that there's just nothing to it. So, yeah. It is probable that I will very soon decide, fuck it, I'll just wait for the next story section to update and come back then. Like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, that sounds like the best way to treat it. If you're just not enjoying it and there's nothing there to do, aside from, I guess, those late game areas or whatever. Yeah, just wait.
It's weird because it's not quite clear what will unlock more story content. Like, there are little bits hidden in different subsections of, like, the quest system. Like, there is the main story where you're going through the cage and stuff, and then you can go through the whole story again on hard mode. And if you do that, if you finish each chapter in hard mode, you will get extra story content for each of those stories that you go through in the different chapters, with the weapon stories and everything. And then if you do it in very hard mode, you get fuck all. There's nothing to it. I said there might be last time we recorded. I think there isn't. It's just more resources. That's all.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, you would think that they would put in a worthwhile, like, story. Like, I think most people come to this game for story content, so the fact that it doesn't have anything at that point is really disappointing. And then you have the character story stuff, the character specific missions that you can only do by ranking up characters, which means using them in fights. Like, you have a party of 3 characters, and if you put a character in your party and do a bunch of fights with them, they will rank up, and then you can do another one of their personal story quests. They also have little bits of extra story for reaching certain milestones in those. And that's pretty much all of the story content as far as I've seen. I did do one of those super high level quests that I mentioned before. I don't believe I got anything significant story wise for it. I think it was just resources, but it's like super duper high level resources, so you can get the strongest characters and nobody fucking cares. So, you know, that's kind of disappointing. But, you know, I don't know what I was expecting for this to have deep and interesting gameplay when that's not really. Like, Automata had that, but that was farmed out to Platinum, and First Nier had passable gameplay. Like, it's never really been a focus unless they got someone else to do it. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame it kind of turned out that way. But
I just hope it gets regular story update content and not just stupid events. I did like the summer event thing that they did, which was really dumb. It put out 3 new versions of characters, because it's not like new characters more often than not, it seems. It's just new skins of existing characters that have different abilities and such.
okay.
So they did a summer banner. There are 3, new skins for the characters. There is one for the little girl who is in like a very modest swimsuit, thankfully, like very covering. It's not creepy, thankfully.
Oh, good.
The little dude, prince dude, he also gets like rich person summerwear, and the samurai lady gets a very elegant sort of swimwear thing. I'm not quite sure. Looks very nice. And then there is a welfare character that the game will basically just give you. And it is an old man character who wears a scruffy coat that goes just down past his ass just slightly. This is an important detail because he does not wear pants.
Like the thinnest, smallest undies you can imagine.
Yep. You just see like The characters face away from you during like fights, so the entire time you're just seeing bare hairy man ass through the entire thing.
Wonderful.
Yoko Taro is a troll, and I love him. I wish the gameplay was better. That is where I stand on that game. Everything else I'm kind of into.
When I first started playing the game, I was like, how do I play this game? And then I realized I don't.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's the same thing when not exactly the same, but it's similar to how when I started playing the My Hero Academia game, and I was like, oh wait, there's an auto button, and then the game just became a non-game.
Yeah, there is an auto button in that game for
Wait,
everything.
do you mean the My Hero Academia mobile game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. Yeah, that's I saw ads for that, and I'm like, I'd be willing to try that. And I looked at the reviews, and it's like the recent update made it impossible to play without spending money. So,
Ooh. Yeah, I tried that game for like maybe 15 minutes. A lot of people bounced off it really fast. I think Minty tried it for the longest because he got Momo immediately, if memory serves. Or was it Suyu?
Oh, yeah,
I
that'll
can't
do it.
remember. But yeah, I think he bounced off eventually as well. But I tried it for like 15 minutes, and I immediately recognized what the game was. There is a Bleach mobile game, not Brave Souls, a different one, and it is literally the same game. Like mechanics and map and fights and everything, it's all just the same game.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That it seems like an easy game to make a game out of, and then just reskin to whatever you want.
Yep. So yeah, that was very disappointing. Like, if they made an actual good game out of it, I would probably have spent money on it. God knows I have for other gacha games.
Yeah. The thing is, you actually can in that formula. I played the Bleach game you're talking about. It was enjoyable until the odds got impossible and the resources required to upgrade your characters got insane. But before that, it was a pretty fun game. It was enjoyable to actually play.
Brave Souls is much better, though I did eventually lose interest in that as well.
Yeah.
If we're talking gacha, Guardian Tales just launched a new story chapter, and they added a Harpy girl, and I got her on my free 10 roll.
Nice.
Yay, Harpy!
I don't remember what Guardian Tales is.
It's a little, it's my side gacha that I actually play with.
It's your side hoe.
It's my side guy. Yeah, it's a side hoe that I actually like. It invests some time into.
Yeah, you gotta invest some time and keep it interested.
But
I believe I remember you talking about that. And it sounded like a really good game. Like the gacha elements were actually fairly minor, and it was more of a just game with gacha elements.
yeah, it's got a lot of a game to it because it's like a 2D top down, very inspired by classic Legend of Zelda style game, but with you have 4 party members, and it obviously gets more advanced the more into it you get. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with that. I haven't really played the new chapter. That game goes places. Casey, do you have anything else that you did for your week, or?
Not really, no.
Okay. So I went and I saw The Suicide Squad.
Okay.
So Suicide Squad as a movie was bad. The original, I have to clarify. It was definitely a mishmash of not knowing what it wants to be and slicing together scenes that make no sense. It's an editing nightmare.
Did you watch the fabled Snyder Cut?
Of Suicide Squad?
That was the thing, right? No, that was Justice League, wasn't it?
No, that wasn't the thing for Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I got my
and
films
also
mixed up.
and also the plot was bad, and a lot of the characters were bad, and it was a bad movie. So the Suicide Squad, which is I guess you could call it a sequel because it's the same Harley. It's the same Colonel Flag. Captain Boomerang shows up at one point. All right. So similar characters. Amanda Waller, same actress. But it's best to think of this as a continuation, I guess. And I think that is one of my favorite movies that DC has put out.
That is
Really?
faint praise.
In fact, I would say it is my favorite. It is so. They got the Guardians of the Galaxy director in on this.
Yep, James Gunn.
And as a result, the dialogue is incredibly funny. Consistently. The characters are all likable. And the plot is not just, there is a big hole in the sky. There's a lot more complications than that. It's, okay, you guys are part of the Suicide Squad. You go in there, complete the mission, and if you run away, we'll blow your head off. It feels like the comics are meant to feel like. And there's a lot of death in this movie. So much death and violence. Character death, too.
As it probably should be. I mean, yeah.
A lot of people go in. A lot of Suicide Squad members go in. Not a lot come out. It's just really, really good. I was very surprised by it. Because I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. But Harley feels like Harley and is enjoyable to watch. You have characters of like Bloodsport, Ratcatcher 2, Polka Dot Man. Polka Dot Man is pretty funny. Just let me die. That's his character.
I do really appreciate that they bring out like the C-listers and then just make them better by making them funny. Or like actual people.
What does he do? Throw polka dots at people? Wait, that's what he does?
Oh.
You know, those polka dots annihilate anything they touch, but still.
I would appreciate if his whole thing was more that he plays poker and it does damage over time.
Nah, not quite. King Shark is best boy. We all love King Shark. He's a simple man, but he'll also eat you.
Is it the King Shark from the DC, the Harley Quinn show? The animated one? Or is it a different character?
I mean, it's King Shark, the DC character.
It's King Shark, the DC character. This King Shark does not know any of these characters beforehand, so...
Ah, gotcha.
And then there's they really pull out the C and D listers for this one, and I really appreciate that.
I mean, on a team that's designed to die in massive amounts of numbers, I feel like that's the best bet. Pulling out
freaking.
your A-listers means you can't kill them. So
This is Javelin. What does he do? He has a javelin.
And it's hard to argue with that, and it's also a really stupid question. Like, what do you think he does?
But and Weasel, who is a 6 foot tall weasel.
he just
Bug eyes.
kind of looks like a weasel person, so we called him that.
It's a silly movie, but also incredibly violent, and has a good deal of heart in it. Like, I don't want to spoil anything.
It's actually worth watching, unlike the original.
It's worth watching. I was watching this in the theater, and the theater was consistently just bursting out laughing.
Oh,
I
good.
think is a good sign.
At the appropriate parts instead of just like
Yes, at the
during the
appropriate
most dramatic
parts, yeah.
scene.
At the it didn't feel like a case of, oh, we're laughing because it's bad, and it didn't feel like a case of, oh, I'm the only person who enjoys this. It felt like most of the people in this theater were enjoying it. So I think I can safely say that it's an enjoyable movie.
Cool.
Good. I'm actually curious what you said. It's a James Gunn movie, so the writing is good. But like, how does that? He's not a writer, so like, is he just really good at telling the writers to?
The direction of the way the characters act and the way they deliver things, I feel is just good, and it doesn't. Nothing feels stiff or robotic.
Okay.
It's not like, hello, my name is Harley Quinn, and I am a clown, and Joker is Joker never gets brought up once, by the way, in this movie.
Oh, good. As it probably should be.
James Gunn is a writer, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So he has a good idea of how things should go,
Yeah.
even if he's in the director seat.
Yeah, he has a writing credit on it, so yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the writers.
Cool.
And no Jared Leto, no like outside heroes that appear or anything. It's entirely self-contained. And I appreciate that.
You know what?
And yeah.
In hindsight, Jared Leto's really stupid, edgy, over-the-top Joker could have worked if they played into it that he's not funny.
True.
Because that's the Joker's thing, right? Is that he's just doing all these really dumb crimes because he wants to make people laugh at the horror and absurdity of the world. But no one's fucking buying into it because he looks like such a fucking douchebag. I feel like that could have worked, but that wasn't.
It would work really well. Hell, I would watch that movie just hearing about it.
Also, just like the action scenes are consistently very fun to watch. Like Harley is incredibly acrobatic, and she's just really fun to watch. And then Peacemaker, who is also on the team, he just has a bunch of weapons and will use anything as a weapon and just annihilates everybody as he just moves through the crowd. And he, has a rivalry with Bloodsport on who can have the sickest kills. And yeah.
Well, that is delightfully morbid, which is fitting.
Yeah, this sounds like Suicide Squad, I'm not gonna lie.
Polka Dot Man over here is like, I don't like killing people, but it helps if I imagine that they're my mother.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a character right there. That's not just...
It's... Yeah. It's got a lot of character. that was the big thing that I did with my week was when I saw that in the theater. Had a great time. It's on it's like free on HBO Max right now, I think.
Oh, sweet. I have that, I believe.
Yeah, so if you got that, you can just watch it whenever you want. I think it's up there for a month, and then it gets taken off.
Do you know where it's going after that?
I don't know. I just know that they have it's streaming for a month, and then that's it. Aside from that, been a pretty chill week. Farming the gotchas, playing some video games. I'm waiting for some more new good video games to come out, but I've been playing one that is Death End Request. On this, I'm playing on the Switch. It was like one of those. I think it's made by, Compile Heart and Idea Factory, the people who make the Neptunia games.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
And the whole thing is you are playing as essentially two characters. One who is kind of trapped in this MMO RPG that is defunct and extremely buggy, and the other who is one of the programmers on the game, and the program is in the real world. So the real world sections are like visual novel segments, and then it's RPG on the inside, and really lean into the whole. These are game developers here and exploiting bugs to help out your teammates by if you remove amount of field bugs on the battlefield, then you can do things like change the genre temporarily to like add in like a shooting element, or to add in like a little slot machine casino thing.
I like the conceit that it's a buggy game because that covers their ass so well.
The game runs terribly on the Switch, by the way.
Oh, it's by design. Don't worry about it.
It's by design. Don't worry. Apparently, it runs better on PC. Or was bad at first, but then they fixed it on PC.
Yeah, I mean, that's true to life. That's, just being real.
But
I'm actually curious how hard the Switch is to patch and update.
I'm assuming everything has to go through Nintendo first, and they do, like, quote-unquote quality control, by which I mean they see it's a thing and then sit on their hands for 2 weeks and then say, yeah, okay, it goes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. There's like a whole mystery as to what's going on with this game, and there's people who are trying to chase down the developers because something hacked a lot of the computer devices around the world, and the image that was shown was from the game World's Odyssey, which is or World of Odyssey, which is the MMO that they made in the past, which is now defunct. And so you have the game developers are trying to run and hide from people who are trying to track them down, and trying to help the creator of the game, who is trapped in the MMO as a character. So this mystery, the game is rated like it's rated M because you really get a taste of it early on that like with it, though they don't show a lot with the graphics, they can get pretty graphic with the text, with just the bad ends and the death. It's
how many endings does the game have?
I've gotten like I'm not that, I wouldn't say I'm that far in, but I've gotten like 9 bad endings at this point.
Oh, okay. So it's like Nier Automata style, where sometimes you'll just get a random bad end.
You'll get choices, and you can save before those choices most of the time, and then take the bad choice, because one will lead to a bad end, the other one will lead to going forward.
Yeah, visual novel style.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying my time with it, but the really the chugging on the Switch is kind of making my progress slow, because I'm like, I don't want to play that right now. I'm gonna go play something else. But it's
That
got
is
some cool
understandable.
it's got some cool concepts, which I appreciate. Like, for example, you can queue up 3 actions on your turn, and depending on which actions you queue up and the order that you do them, you can learn new. You have a chance of learning new skills. So you can play around with the way you queue up your actions, and then unlock some more and more powerful skills for your characters. Which is, that's fun to experiment with, and you get like a light bulb if there's a percentage, if there's a chance of them learning a new skill off of that combo. So, yeah.
What was that one called again?
Death End Request.
Cool.
I just found out apparently there was a sequel of some kind, although the Switch version only came out like this year, in April, but the initial release date of Death End Request I think came out in 2018, so maybe it's like a 2019 or something. I think it's like maybe a remake or something. Not a remake, but yeah. I'm slowly just whittling down the time until a new big game comes out.
I don't even know when new big games come out. I know Halo's happening at some point. I don't really care though.
The Diablo 2 remake is coming out soon, I believe, if you're interested in that.
Thankfully, I'm not. I feel bad for people that have to decide whether they're willing to even give money to Activision Blizzard at this point.
Oh, right, it's them doing that. Fuck. It's a friend of mine played past tense WoW, and it's kind of funny in a morbid way that the WoW killer, it wasn't another MMO, it was the creators being exceptionally shitty monsters people.
Well, I mean, it was that, but also there was another MMO for people to gravitate towards and away from WoW.
Oh, at this point, there's plenty. It's just WoW has had the sunk cost fallacy audience that keeps playing it because, but the company revealing itself to be absolute monsters has kind of shaken things up. So people are more willing to jump ship to other things.
Again, absolute monsters, and also they aren't offering anything worthwhile in terms of the game itself. Apparently, is what I've heard from people that actually did play WoW, up until recently.
I know that tomorrow there's like an indie direct for like Nintendo, but the next big thing that I'm going to actually care about playing is No More Heroes 3. It's coming out end of August.
Holy shit, that series is still alive?
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy to hear that. It seems like I've never played one, but it seems like a really cool series, and I'm glad it exists. But I assumed it was dead.
No, they announced No More Heroes 3 quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's not been dead at all. There was 1, 2, then Travis Strikes Back, which is I didn't play it, but I heard was not great. And then 3.
I'm just looking through fucking future releases to see whether I can see anything I actually care about.
I am going to be getting Tales of Arise for the PS5 because I've been itching for a new Tales of game.
Fair.
Let's see. Deathloop was a thing that Sony were pushing at some point. I don't remember what that is.
Die again.
Yeah. There were a couple of games like that, though, so they kind of blurred together.
The Hyperlight Drifter people are releasing Solar Ash in October.
Is that another game or an expansion?
It's another game. It's 3D.
Sweet.
It looks really cool.
Right. I've got the game everyone needs to care about. The next game that everyone needs to get on day one. Hot Wheels Unleashed.
Yeah!
Oh my god. Yes. Definitely need that.
Same day as FIFA, because, let's be real. If there's a choice between that and FIFA, you probably want that.
I was gonna say that's not a hard choice. That is a exceptionally easy choice, actually.
Super Monkey Ball. Far Cry 6 comes out in October.
Oh yeah, okay. I still love the Far Cry series enough to give it a try.
Yeah,
even if 5 was a hot dumpster fire.
The trailers made it look very interesting, but apparently we don't actually play as the little kid, which was what I was hoping for.
That would have been an interesting take.
Yeah, like it was the whole there was the dictator, and he's like showing the kid how he should rule the people, like holding a live grenade with the pin already pulled, and that was all interesting. And I thought that kid was going to be the protagonist, and he'd have like this fucked up perspective. No, he's a character, I think. But yeah, that went in a direction that I care a lot less about. Still, the Guardians of the Galaxy game.
Yeah.
It looked alright, but it only looked alright, so I don't actually care that much.
To its benefit, that Guardians of the Galaxy game is single player offline, so hopefully it won't be as horrible as Marvel Avengers. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that one, but
yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Real bad.
But it was sponsored by Horizon. You can dress all your favorite superheroes in corporate colors.
Next month there's new WarioWare for the Switch stuff. Then after that you get frickin' Metroid Dread, new Mario Party, SMT 5 in November,
Elden Ring in January, supposedly. That's
Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remake in November.
Yeah, everybody getting DP. Yeah.
Yeah. DP.
Yeah, everybody going out to get DP.
Go get the double pack of DP.
There's so many jokes I just can't get past the basic premise. It sucks. Okay, yeah.
I'm sure you'll get there.
No. I won't.
I mean, unraveling which joke to say first.
No. There's too many.
All right.
Kid in a candy store, which is a terrible metaphor to reach for when we talk. Never mind. Let's move on. So, yeah, I don't know. What games do I actually care about? I've already forgotten again. Like the ones that I actually already said. Like there was one in October, Far Cry 6. That was it. a little bit maybe. I don't know. I'd see how it goes. And Elden Ring. So I look forward to next year when I get to have fun with my super jump horse that can jump like 50 feet in the air. Yeah.
I forget, what systems do you have?
PS4, Switch, PC.
Ah, okay. Because the PS4 has been having a lot of sales recently, so I've actually picked up a lot of games that I didn't even realize were on the system. So you could always, instead of looking forward to something in the future, you could always see if you can find something fun to play.
Or
that
I
already
could play
exists.
my ridiculous backlog of games that I own already and have not played either to completion
Or that.
at all. Yeah.
I mean, ideally you would do that, but yeah.
Yeah. Alright. Zero. It's the beginning of the month.
All right.
Before we do that, I didn't want to interrupt the games talk with something, but I did do one other thing.
Yeah.
YouTube just started auto-playing gaming introspective videos of people like long-form going through the game and explaining the processes and the mechanics of the game and stuff like that. And so I found a YouTuber called Fair. Of a YouTuber called White Light, and I will grab a link in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
And he is, I want to say his most famous video is a 7.5 hour long Death Stranding commentary video, which was massively informative and very entertaining. They're not all that long. Most of his videos are between 15 and 45 minutes long, but that was a good one. That was, if you have the time for it and you're interested in Death Stranding at all, good stuff. But yeah, if you're playing games that are kind of boring or whatever, and you need something to listen to, this guy is actually really good.
Along the same vein, I finally bothered to watch a video that had been in my recommended feed for quite a while. It is called The Fall of Doctor Who. It is a 5-hour video that talks about the 2 most recent seasons of that show, specifically breaking down the writing and characterization and why it isn't very good. And I watched that to completion multiple times. It is a very interesting perspective into the writing process specifically. So, if you actually watch that, you will probably learn a thing or two about writing characters, because the person who made the video has actually gone into a lot of detail on how the process should work and why what the show has been doing doesn't work by comparison. So it's a worthwhile watch even if you don't really watch the show or haven't watched the show at any point, because it does spend a lot of time teaching you a thing or two about, writing characters specifically.
I was going to say, I've seen approximately one episode of Doctor Who, the Da Vinci episode, I believe. And I'm very interested in that video, so I really appreciate a link.
I don't remember the Da Vinci episode, to be honest.
Or the guy with the ear, chopped his ear off.
Oh, Van
Pressing
Gogh.
artist.
Yeah.
That's the one.
The one where it's like, at the end of it, they take him to a gallery to show him, everything... Like, he's remembered well, and, like, he did all this amazing stuff, and he cries and stuff, and feels so gladdened and everything. And then he gets put back in time, and he still kills himself, because depression is not that easy to cure. Which was it was a bold statement at the time. So...
It was a definite gut punch, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, that was... Oh, Doctor Who's been a good show. Like, yeah. that video that I talked about is maybe also impactful for me because I remember when that show was very good. But yeah,
That's fair.
yeah. So I recommend watching that video. It pissed some people off. Twitter specifically. It's weird that you can be specific about Twitter and just say Twitter and that works, and you still know exactly the kind of people I'm talking about.
Yeah, the Twitter crowd is very specific.
Yeah, that it got responses from a professional journalist saying, "Wow, this person is so sad and pathetic and just wants to destroy Doctor Who." Because, giving all this criticism and wanting to turn this show into trash that will get cancelled. And then a couple of weeks after that video came out, he comes out with an article saying why Doctor Who needs to be cancelled. Like, wow. That is a next level kind of hypocritical lack of self-awareness that either that or just straight up maliciousness, dunking on them for clout and then doing the exact same, well, what he thinks is the exact same thing they were doing. Oh boy, I fucking hate Twitter. I hate everyone on Twitter. Like, I feel bad for having a Twitter account at this point.
It's not great.
Oh boy.
Okay, so I wasn't thinking about how the Patreon payment had gone through because some of my emails are being just auto blocked because I had this thing that happened that I didn't mention where I got a huge just flood of spam emails, and then I put on a block extension. And kind of tied it to my email. So it now auto blocks a lot of that trash, but it occasionally blocks things that are not trash.
Yeah, that happens.
So I have to kind of occasionally just check in and make sure that it's not, blocking important things that I need to see. All right. So, for our Patreon, thank you to Sailor of House Thunderbird for that $1 donation. Thank you to Vale for your $10 donation. Thank you to Boy Bye Fresh for your $20 donation. Thank you to Ryu for that $3.50. Thank you to Greek Guy for that $1 donation. Thank you to Ethan F for that $10 donation. Thank you to Bomber BCM for that $20 donation. Thank you to the Crossbrain for that $10 donation. And thank you to Tempest Chopper for that $10 donation. You guys are awesome.
I was doing a thank you dance through the entire thing. I don't know whether it came across.
I don't think so. But hey, maybe they feel it.
Yeah. Feel the vibe of me holding my arms up and wiggling side to side.
The shepherd shuffle?
Yeah, basically. I mean, my arms were higher up, but otherwise, yeah. Oh, I need sleep. I'm going to go to bed after this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get some food. I'm starving.
Yeah? What are you going to have?
I have no idea.
I'm also going to get food.
I think I have fish sticks. I have some fish sticks.
Man, I miss fish sticks. Gotta be careful when I say that.
Either way, whatever. It's
Fish
cool to be
sticks.
a gay fish. It's 2021. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well, they do swim in that water.
You know what? It would be a weird thing if South Park just did an update of that joke. It's just like, well, oh, fuck. I can't remember who it was. Was it Puff Daddy?
Kanye? I thought it was Kanye.
Oh yeah, it was Kanye. Because yeah, he takes things super literally. Yeah, it's just like, are you a gay fish? And he's just like, oh, maybe I am. And then he has like an actual coming out party, and he's like, wearing like a fish costume,
So-
but also like a rainbow feather boa. Like,
So the ending of the episode, 3 minutes in.
yeah, basically.
I'd be down for that. Sure. Like a little South Park short.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, it's okay to be gay fish kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's go eat food.
It's probably as heartwarming as South
Food
Park
sounds
could
good.
get, really. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right,
Well,
I need
see
to
you
do the
guys
outro.
later.
Fucking,
Yeah.
Discord link in the description, Patreon link in the description. Yeah, bye, everybody.
See y'all. Have fun.
Bye bye.